Hi, good day, everyone. I hope you all are doing well, and good morning, good evening, wherever you are watching us. Me and okay, I thought I just clicked the link of going off. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I hope you all are doing well, and me and Kulad is live again, and we had this discussion uh, about something terrible is happening in with kids in UK, and it might be happening in other areas also, but we are not familiar with that. So thank you so much, Kulad, for joining us today. And can you tell this to our listener that why a lot of children are missing and why we don't have a data about that? Because we also have that policy in the UK that 100% attendance is must, and then that funding, taking off the funding of the bus, and now this children are missing now. So what is happening over there?
Okay. So obviously the whole world went into lockdown. We were in lockdown. Our country was in lockdown for almost 2 years. It's been since been revealed that there are a lot of children that haven't returned to school. These children have just seemingly gone missing. They don't know where they are. Councils don't know where they are. Schools don't know where they are. So at the moment, we're trying to find out where all these children have gotten to, going to education for so long, because children have been back at school now for about 18 months, 2 years. So it's only just not long been revealed that these children are missing. If children are being homeschooled, which a lot of children have been, then being homeschooled, you have to be registered with your local authority, your local council, the LEA, which is the local education authority. So these people know that these children won't be returning to school and that they will be being homeschooled. Those children are not the children that are missing. It's the children that are not appearing back at school. Nobody's heard from them. Councils haven't heard. LEA hasn't heard. So, like I said, at the moment, it's just where have these children gone and how has that been allowed to go on?
So like when you talk about school and when we talk about system, we know that school have an attendance record, and in attendance record, not just attendance record, they have registered. And whenever you are uh, this is what is happening in my country, that because like I'm from Pakistan, you're from UK, that you have that documentation, you have government documentation. In government documentation, you know that where your family lives and what is your permanent address. So if those children are missing, did somebody contacted, did social worker? Because there's a big department of social work, and it is their job to see what is happening with those children. What about this department? Are they working? Are they active? Are they held accountable for that? What is happening with those children?
Well,
And
let's be honest, Anila, the social services, they don't do their job properly anyway. So, and that's not just here in the UK, that's everywhere. They just don't do their job properly. Um, what was you asking me?
I'm just saying
Why?
that let me reframe my question. When a child get into school, then they have a proper documentation, like where
Yeah,
what is a permanent address. Over here we have bay form, and in that bay form they have a family number and they have permanent addresses over there. After that
yeah.
you can add that form. That is a proper government documentation. And when the child turned 18 years of age, then the child get ID card from the same number. So it's a family number over there. So if a
Yeah.
children is, what about the family? Where the family?
Okay.
What
But
about the whole family?
these families have also gone missing. Obviously, the councils have been contacted to see if these families are still in this areas, and a lot of families have moved without informing anybody. They've just literally slipped off the radar, and nobody knows where these people have gone. Nobody knows where these children have gone. So at the moment, it's not as big as it should be because there are thousands. We're not talking about hundreds, we're talking about thousands of children that haven't returned to education, thousands of children that haven't been heard from, the families haven't been heard from, they haven't made any connection with anybody. So, it's there are things going on in the background, but I don't think it's been made public enough because I think if these families have moved addresses and their children are running around in the garden, in the streets, if you hear these children in the house, then people should report that this new family have moved in and these children are running around. People have a sense of duty to do that. Some don't because they don't want to get involved. But my argument there is where children are concerned, there shouldn't be a discussion about it. There shouldn't be a second thought about it. If there's any reasoning as to why those children are there, then that's fine. But you could be helping find these missing children. So if you do have anybody that's moved into your local area and these children are running around, or you just find something that's just not quite right, that these children are not going to school, then please do contact your local council or contact your local social services, because these children need to be found and we need to make sure that they're healthy, that they're safe, and that they're receiving everything that they should be receiving.
And the thing is that there's a uh, like if you're a writer, you know that your job is to write. If you're a teacher, then you know that your job is to teach. But when we talk about teachers, they know about the family, they know about the children because they come to PTMs or the meetings that you had. Admin also know about the whereabouts that school. But how it is possible that whole families are gone missing? Because immigration data is always available, that this is why foreign office is working. This is why they stop illegal immigration. This is why they have a strong hold over there, because we know that there are a lot of illegal immigrants go to those countries and they do something bad, and they are
Mm.
also some kind of terrorism also. So it means that this country, or if this could happen to, if this is happening in any country, it is at verge of national security. And maybe we cannot talk about much, but I think as a human being, as a mother, you would think of that. And if
Mm.
something is like that is happening in school, why would you send your children to school? Because I remember that when you told me about that, now you don't trust the police anymore, because police was involved in doing so many things like that.
Yeah.
Now it's not schools. That schools, anybody could go. Like, let me tell you something. It is same happening that happened with in our country about Fatima. Hundred of girls were gone missing.
Mm.
Nobody knew what happened to those girls. So suppose if those girls are adopted, those children are adopted, how could you get that data that this that happened? Because when there was a flood in our country, many children has gone missing at that time, and people were not allowed to go there, because if people would go there, that things would come out and everybody would know that what was happening, and people were not doing. Rather, the government was not doing a lot of work over there. Maybe they were not doing any work at all. But the people who lived there and who were living in city but have some abilities or capability, they were helping those people to feed, and still they don't get anything. So, but when we talked about the department, that is social worker department, and I think it is their only job to look out for a child. if there was a time when I used to contact a lot of people for interviewing, and maximum if I contact 50 people, 40 were social worker. So you are a psychologist, you are also a social worker, you are doing multiple things, and every social worker is assigned to a child. What, okay, if the child are not there, what is their job, what they are going to do?
Well, their job is to find where that child has gone and how that child has managed to disappear in the first place. If a child is under social services, then during COVID, we know that a lot of children died during COVID. They got killed by parents, adoptive parents, and social services excuse for not visiting these children that needed to be protected was COVID, and a lot of parents hid behind that. Social services would turn up at the door, and we've had a few stories over here where one in particular, a little boy died, and social services had turned up at his door, and his parents told social services that he had COVID. So social services turned around and walked away. The next day he died. So it social services have got a lot to answer for, because if these children were under their care in the first place, then they should know exactly where these children are. And this is where the failings are coming in, Anila. This is where social services are not doing their job. Yes, I understand that they've got caseloads. I've said this many of times before, but you you can't push children to the side because you've got too many cases. If you can't keep up with the cases that you've got, then you need to go and speak to your manager. Something needs to be done, because at the moment, our government are not taking it serious enough, and that to me shows a massive, it shows how little we think of these children that have gone missing, that the government are not pushing to find out where these children are. Yes, we have 100% attendance. If your child is off school for a day, you're getting a phone call, you're getting an email, you're getting a text message. So I don't understand how these children have disappeared. During
Exactly.
COVID, during COVID, teachers were phoning home to speak to the children to make sure that they were okay, to make sure that they were doing their learning from home, making sure that they felt safe and how they were doing. So again, I don't understand how these children have gone missing. They shouldn't have gone missing if the right people looked out and did their jobs properly.
And there's other thing over here too, that when we talk about the COVID time period, then there was classing also happening. So do they knew that those children were taking classes or not? If the children were taking classes, it means that they were there. But the point is the data available, that how many Pakistani, how many Asian, how many British, how many US citizens have gone missing? Because
No, we don't know. They haven't told us that. All we've been told is that there's a few thousand children that are not accountable for, sorry, not accounted for because they're not attending school, they're not attending doctors, so nobody knows where they are, nobody knows what nationality they are, so it's just something that the government have thrown at us and left us to it, and a lot of people may have forgotten about it, because that's what government like to do, just throw it out there and they'll forget about it in a couple of days. Then you've got people like us, Anila, that will fight for these children and want to know why these children have gone missing. So, you know, the government will listen one day. They will.
and the other thing is that over here we are talking about thousands of children. Like they're saying few thousands. So it's not few thousand, thousands. Thousand is a number. Like you will, if you start counting, you will get tired of counting till thousand. It means that we are talking about thousand families, and thousand families have 4 or 5% at least in that. So it means that the whole population is gone and nobody know where they are. And what if those are people who might have some kind of sensitive data? Maybe, you never know that. Maybe there might be a social worker who have data or who have important information about some child, because it's not necessary that children who are just coming to school, obviously they have parents and their parents who are working. They might be nurses, they might be social worker, they might be doctor. So if they are gone, they just, and they're even if they are not doing any kind of homeschooling, I think somebody need to do something, because if children start going missing like that, it means that nobody's safe. I mean, it means that people don't need to just send their children to school. I mean, why would somebody send their child to school if you never know that their child is coming back or not? That is a kind of a trauma, a kind of a terror, a kind of induced trauma on children, that you are not safe anywhere. What do you think?
I think the
Nobody is
big
thinking
question,
about
I think the big question, sorry, I think the big question is why have these families disappeared in the first place? What's going on? Why would you just up and move and not let anybody know? Why not enroll your child into a new school? These are the questions that need to be asked. Why and how? And what are we going to do about it? These are the questions. But every day I'm on Twitter and every day I'm asking the government to answer my questions, and at the moment they haven't. I've emailed them personally at Parliament. Again, I'm still waiting for responses because, as far as I'm concerned, child abuse and trauma is not taken serious enough. And it's not taken serious enough in any country, not just ours, it's any country. So, and this is abuse and trauma, removing a child from their environment to somewhere else where basically you're hiding them. That's very traumatic for a child. You can't just remove a child from what they know, without any sort of conversation with anybody. And like I said, these children that are, not all of them are under the social services, not all of them are, but you could probably find the majority of them are. And this is where I have to say social services and the school, well, can't really say the school because the schools, the children don't turn up, as all they can do is report it. But it's been going on too long, and it's been over a year now, nearly 2 years now, since children have been back, and these children haven't been found yet, and that's quite scary.
And the thing is that it's not about maybe just abuse. Of course, it's about child abuse, but what about the friends of those children? They would ask about them. They might be missing those children. They might be missing those friendship that they had. And but you're going to tell your children that why this child is not coming, where this child is, because nowadays everybody have access to information, everybody have access to internet, and if something is something like this is happening around, it is definitely terrorizing the children. It is terrorizing the parents. It is terrorizing the immigrants who are coming from other countries, and also those people who are living over there, who are native.
Mm,
Because, like you said, that this might happen to every people, every nation, every ethnicity over there, and nobody have record of anything. It means that people could go missing, and over here we are not talking about criminals. Over here we are not talking about offenders. Over here we are not talking about abuser even. Over here we're talking about children who are gone missing with their families, and nobody knows what had happened to them. So if it might be COVID, people would have known that those many people are died. But it's not like that. And what about nobody sent them any email? There's no record. What about those records? What about their residency, where they have gone? So instead of just making mother wonders what is happening uh, in our country, people start doing protest about that. Like, for example, we did for Fatima, and we're still going to do that. We are still continuing to do that. But What about people in your country? Do you protest like, because sometimes saw the
Anila,
pictures and some videos. How people
Neela, you keep
those
breaking up.
matters?
I can't
Do
hear
they
you.
talk
Neela,
right now?
okay, Neela's frozen. Neela, there you are. No, gone again.
I'm back. Saying that, I hope it's not frozen right. Can you hear my voice?
I can hear your voice, yeah, but I can't. Yes, I can see you now.
Okay, now. So I'm just saying that in our country, if something like that happened, then people start somehow. Some people are there who do protest. What about people in your country? Because sometimes I see those pictures and those photos, but still, people are they sensitive toward those matters? For them, is it a concern to ask what is happening? Uh, what is their thinking pattern over there? Do they want to protest, or they're just quiet because it's not happening with them? It just happened with the other person.
Okay, so the thing with the British is we all like to stand in our kitchens and talk about things and then go on about our daily business. Nobody steps outside their front door and has a look what's going on. So protesting, we don't do that. I mean, so we don't do that. We have people protesting for the stop oil protests and things like that. And ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, especially when there's more important things going on in the world, like children going missing, like children, vulnerable children being left, being slipped through the cracks, and we hear of children dying every day at the hands of a monster, and we don't protest in our streets, Anila, and that's it's quite sad, really, how we can protest about the stop oil, we can protest about who we don't like in government, but when it comes to children, nobody wants to talk about it. It's just taboo. Like I say, it's a very British thing to sit down and have a conversation about it with your family in the kitchen, have a cup of tea, have a moan about it. But then when it actually comes to action, nobody does a thing. You know, People won't protest about it because people won't speak up about it. There are plenty of people out there, and I know that there is, that know that a child is being abused, know that a child is being neglected, yet they don't do anything, they don't say anything, they don't report it. So, as far as protesting for our children's rights and to find out where these children are, that's not happening because we were just not that way. Anila, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Now can you hear me? Yes. At that time
Yeah.
when I okay. So uh, like you said that, and we have been talking about those things so many times that people think that it's not happening with them, it is not happening with their family. They're not sensitive to that matter. But uh, I think you have journalists, you have channels, and like for example, somebody just told me that there was a girl who was abused and abused till that 10 years old. Sarah was her name. When her stepdaughter, do you know about that case?
Yes, I do. The family, what had happened was, the family had ran away to Pakistan. It was the dad, the stepmother,
Stepmother, yeah, stepmother.
and the brother-in-laws. Well, yesterday, I think,
They're
uh,
captured.
they they handed themselves back into the UK police. So they're now with the UK police. What had happened was when they arrived in Pakistan, the dad phoned the police over here in the UK to inform them that little Sarah was dead at the home and they'd fled and left her. So, yes, when they found her, she was covered in bruises, systematically abused.
Yeah.
Um,
For 1 month,
Nubia,
I guess. I don't know for how much time, but it is in news now. And
yeah,
somebody told, and I just told them that my friend told me about this case 1 or 2 weeks before, and she asked me. And there was some little small news on social media, but the point is, if something happened, people would ask to maybe have a campaign. And I don't see any Twitter campaign in your area too. It's not that your country is not advanced. I think if somebody start things like that, that will influence them so rapidly, because people have big accounts, they have big following, people are more into technology. In our country, people are not that much technology friendly, they don't understand that much technology. But if you understand technology and they are using that, for example, our journalists sometimes are involved in that. We have human rights defender, we have human rights lawyer who do those things. But those places are in your countries, in Europe, in America. If you talk about UN, if you talk about Geneva, Commonwealth, and all those things are in your countries. What about those organizations? Do you saw them? Because you live over there, you know them. And I am somebody who have a watch from a third eye. Do they talk about abuse, child abuse? Did they had any kind of session about child abuse? Did they talk
where
about that in Geneva,
in
in UN?
general,
Yeah, yeah, in
I
women,
mean,
in UN agency.
obviously, people that I speak to, we talk about it because I'm quite passionate about it. Um, but like I say, Neela, we've all got something to say. We'll all, I've stood on the street with a friend and complained about something that's going on, but never actually done anything about it. Um, Everybody I know will, talk about it, but when it comes to going outside and taking our voices to the streets, nobody will do it. I mean, I'm happy to start a protest. I'm happy to start a protest to protect our vulnerable children. So, anybody that's listening to us today or watching us today, if you're up for it, I'm up for it because I will do everything I can to give these children a voice. And at the moment, nobody's listening to them, not even the adults.
Because we have UN agencies, we have refugees, we have UN, we have Save the Children, we have a big, so many big organizations, and they are always have those sessions where people are coming, we are talking about. And remember one thing, then when we were doing that discussion on Twitter, the girl was very much right that it is not allowed to talk about child abuse in different cultures, and I think she was very right at that moment.
Yeah,
Because you have to transform a culture. Like, people
yeah,
are talking about domestic violence, you have seen them. There
yeah.
are organizations with the name of domestic violence, maybe
Hmm.
trauma also. What about child abuse? I mean, I was just talking to my friend, and she told me that she just even told me about that term also, where they are taking out the blood from infant or children, and they are using that to regenerate their skin. That is some kind of process, and it is happening, and
Yes.
people are doing that. They do that. I think you are
Adrena,
familiar with.
I think it's called adrenochrome or adrenochrome, something like that.
She told me
And
something like that.
yeah, I don't know how true it is. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, if it's true. Um, but what he said is that they frighten a child so much that they produce this adrenochrome or adrenochrome or whatever it
Yes,
is.
adrenaline. Yes, she was adrenaline.
That's it, yes. And they take that from the child and apparently they inject themselves with it. But that's all part of, the Illuminati and things
Yeah,
like
yeah, she
that.
was talking about.
And,
Because
if
if the discussion about that, I just heard about this discussion from one of a singer who was from India, who were invited to those places, and he just shared a picture of that place, and that
mm,
picture was taken up from the internet, and I have seen that picture also, by the way. But that picture was taken up from the
Yeah, I
internet.
mean, we can't say for sure that, we can't say for
But
sure
he
that
was,
that's
yeah, okay, what is
actually
happening
happened.
over there? But the point, why UN is not talking about child abuse, missing children, maybe what is happening, why it is happening, and when election came, then they just have those election campaigns, and they will talk about that. Maybe they are waiting for that, but still, it's a concern not just for a mother but for a child also. I mean, what kind of, what reason you would give to your child that why those children are not there? Okay, if you give them this point of view that they went to their relative house or they went to some other country. Suppose in one classroom there are 100 children, 50 are missing. Why 50 are not over there? So automatically COVID has done a lot of have give a lot of trauma to children, and now this thing. And you find no place, like if you want to see about some food chain, you will find information everywhere that this is a food chain and this office is there. If you talk about Amazon, you will see the store everywhere with info, with websites, with telephone numbers, and they're not aware of the children that they're missing. I mean, are they
It's all
dead?
about protecting children's people's privacy, isn't it? That's basically where they think they're going to be crossing a line, but I don't think there's any lines to be crossed when it comes to looking for missing children. There shouldn't
Yeah.
be any lines. There
Any
shouldn't
line. But
be.
it's asking as a mother, as a citizen, as a human being, because you work for, you have that concern because your daughters are also going to school, same school where their children are not anymore. So if
Yeah,
people are going to missing like that without any explanation, again, we are not talking about criminals. We are not talking about convicts. We are talking about children who are going to school and they are not there anymore. And every mother and every human being will have, because animal are, if you talk about animals, they are so scared when their children are gone. They're so anxious. And we're talking about human beings whose children are not there anymore, and there might be friends to your daughter, friends to your son, maybe their mother was friend to you. So that is, we're talking about a society, and we don't want that society to collapse. I hope that discussion go to some relevant place and people start thinking about that what is happening and this should be happening. So from my side, I would like to say thank you to you. I hope people see what is happening and why this is happening. This why is something we cannot talk about, but what is happening, somehow according to our insight we can talk about that. Thank you so much, Kulat. Is there something you would like to say at the end? And I, of course, your application is very much necessary over here. There is no
thank
other.
you. Okay, just a quick one to say thank you for listening to our first proper podcast today. Any comments, please comment. Any questions, please ask. Anything you want us to talk about, that's what we'll do. Thank you, and Dr. Anelia Khan, for joining me on this podcast.
So I hope we will have those discussions as much as we can. And you know that people are always there. I'm sorry. Sorry, people. We cannot even edit that because this is going live. Sorry, everyone. Home environment. We don't have a studio. You should understand that we those discussion with bad health. We don't even have that much things over here. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And we are going to have those discussions as much as we can. And if you want to part of that, please do join us. And please like, share, and comment. Thank you so much. See you in the next discussion. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, Neela.